As I watched them from the window, memories flooded back. 10 years ago, I sat in this same room, fresh out of college, excited to join Anderson Technologies. I had grown up watching Dad build it from a small tech consulting firm into a Fortune 500 company. The glass and steel headquarters downtown stood as a testament to his success and his pride. But from day one, it was clear I would never be good enough. While Michael was groomed for leadership, given important projects and mentor relationships, I was relegated to basic administrative work. Learn the business from the ground up, Dad said, but I knew the truth. He never intended for me to rise. The final straw came 3 years ago. I had developed a revolutionary cloud security platform, something that could have transformed Anderson Technologies. I spent months preparing the presentation, checking every detail, ready to prove myself. This is amateur work, Dad had declared, barely glancing at my proposal. This isn't how we do things here, Emily. Maybe if you had Michael's business sense. He trailed off, shaking his head. The next week, I watched as he approved a similar but inferior project from Michael's team. That night, I packed up my office and resigned. Dad didn't try to stop me. Running away again, he said, disappointed but unsurprised. You never could handle real pressure. What he didn't know was that I took my security platform with me. I had developed it on my own time, carefully documenting everything to ensure the intellectual property was mine. Within 6 months, my startup SecureShape launched the platform. Within a year, we had major clients. Now we were valued at over $300 million. But success wasn't enough. I wanted justice. I moved to my desk, opening my laptop to review tomorrow's presentation one last time. The financial statements told the story Dad never bothered to learn. How SecureShape had been systematically acquiring Anderson Technologies stock through various shell companies. How we had formed strategic partnerships with their biggest clients. How we had positioned ourselves to become their primary cloud security provider. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus, my lead counsel. Final review of acquisition documents complete. All legal requirements met. Board members have been quietly informed of the change in ownership. Everything's set for tomorrow. I smiled, remembering how Dad always said I wasn't detail-oriented enough for business. If only he knew how meticulously I had planned this takeover. A soft knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. Emily. It was Mom holding a slice of chocolate cake, my favorite since childhood. You missed dessert. I let her in, watching as she set the plate down and perched awkwardly on my bed. She looked older, suddenly more fragile. Your father. He doesn't mean to be harsh. He just wants what's best for you. No, Mom, I said quietly. He wants what's best for Michael. He always has. That's not true, she protested weakly. We're proud of you in our way. This little company you've started. SecureShape isn't little anymore, Mom. We're one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. I pulled up our latest valuation report on my laptop, turning the screen toward her. Her eyes widened as she saw the numbers. But, how? When did you? While you and Dad were focused on Michael's golf scores and country club connections, I was building something real. I closed the laptop. You should get some rest, Mom. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. She stood, smoothing her expensive dress. Will you at least come to the shareholders' meeting tomorrow? Your father's announcing Michael's promotion to CEO. It would mean a lot to have the whole family there. I kept my face carefully neutral. Don't worry, Mom. I wouldn't miss it for the world. After she left, I changed into my favorite silk pajamas and stood at the window again. The garden lights illuminated the rose bushes Mom had planted when I was little. I used to hide there when Dad's criticism became too much, dreaming of the day I'd prove him wrong. Tomorrow that day would finally arrive. I checked my phone one last time. Messages from my executive team flooded in. Sarah, CFO, legal team confirmed our controlling interest. 51.3% of shares secured. Marcus, legal proxy votes aligned. Board transition plan approved. Jennifer, PR, press release drafted for tomorrow's announcement. David, operations integration plan ready. Teams on standby. I typed a quick response. Everything proceeds as planned. 9 a.m. sharp. Setting my alarm, I slid into bed, my mind racing with tomorrow's possibilities. The champagne was already chilled in my office downtown. The new company letterhead was printed. The security teams were briefed. In less than 12 hours, I would walk into Anderson Technologies not as the disappointed daughter, but as the new owner. The thought brought a smile to my face as I drifted off to sleep, dreaming of shattered champagne glasses and dropped jaws. Dad always said I wasn't cut out for the family business. Tomorrow he'd learn just how wrong he was. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, the September sun casting long shadows across Atlanta's skyline. I stood in my penthouse office, adjusting my Armani suit and watching the city come alive. The Anderson Technologies building dominated the view, 50 stories of glass and steel that would soon be mine. My phone buzzed with an incoming video call from Sarah, my CFO. Her face appeared on the screen, calm but excited. "Everything's in place, Emily. The board members are already gathering in the main conference room. Your father and Michael just arrived." I smiled, picturing their confident strut through the lobby, completely unaware of what was coming. "Any last-minute issues?" "None. Though your brother's assistant was trying to rearrange the seating chart. Apparently, he wanted to sit at the head of the table." Sarah's eye roll was perfectly visible even through the video feed. "Let him have his moment," I said, checking my reflection one last time. "It won't last long." My executive team was waiting in my office's private conference room. We'd worked together since Secure Shape's early days, when we were operating out of a converted warehouse space. Now looking at them in their power suits and designer watches, you'd never know those humble beginnings. "The press is already gathering," Jennifer, my PR director, reported. "Word leaked that something big is happening at Anderson Technologies today. Speculation is running wild. Most think it's just about Michael's promotion to COO." Marcus, my legal counsel, spread documents across the table. Final verification of share ownership came through. Between direct purchases and proxy agreements, we control 51.3% of voting shares. The transition is legally ironclad. I picked up one of the papers, the new organizational chart with my name at the top. "Has anyone from my family tried to contact me?" "Your mother called the office twice," David, my operations director, said. "She seemed worried when you weren't at breakfast this morning." I thought about Mom's face last night, her weak attempts to defend Dad's behavior. She'd always chosen the path of least resistance, smoothing things over instead of addressing the real problems. Today she'd have to finally pick a side. "It's time," I said, gathering my things. "Sarah, you have the presentation?" She patted her briefcase. "All queued up and ready to go." The look on their faces when they see these numbers. We took my private elevator down to the waiting cars. The drive to Anderson Technologies took exactly 7 minutes. I timed it perfectly to arrive just as the shareholders' meeting was beginning. The lobby fell silent as we walked in, my team flanking me like a corporate army. The security guards, who had been quietly working for me for weeks, nodded respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Anderson." The elevator ride to the 50th floor felt like ascending to battle. I could feel the energy radiating from my team, years of preparation culminating in this moment. The doors opened to the executive floor, where Dad had once told me I'd never belong. Through the glass walls of the conference room I could see them all. The board members in their expensive suits, the major shareholders checking their phones, and at the head of the table Dad and Michael looking every bit the kings of their domain. My mother sat in her usual place, one seat away from Dad, perfectly coiffed and clearly anxious. She was the first to spot me through the glass, her eyes widening in recognition. I saw her lean over to whisper something to Dad, but it was too late. The double doors swung open and I walked in, my heels clicking purposefully on the marble floor. The room fell silent. "Emily." Dad's voice carried a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What are you doing here? This is a private shareholders meeting." I smiled, nodding to Sarah, who began distributing folders to everyone at the table. "I know exactly what this is, Dad. That's why I'm here." Michael snorted, not bothering to open his folder. "This is for major shareholders only, sis. Not whatever little startup you're running." "Perhaps," Marcus said smoothly, stepping forward, "you should look at those documents." One by one the board members opened their folders. I watched as confusion turned to shock on their faces. Dad was the last to look, his hands visibly shaking as he flipped through the pages. This is impossible," he stammered, his face turning red. "These share purchases, these proxy agreements, are all completely legal and verified," Marcus finished. "As of 9 a.m. this morning, SecureShape Technologies, under the leadership of Emily Anderson, holds controlling interest in Anderson Technologies. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. The sound echoed through the silent room like a starting gun. Michael jumped to his feet, his face contorted with rage. "You can't do this. Dad, she can't do this." But Dad wasn't looking at Michael. For the first time in years, he was really looking at me, seeing not his disappointing daughter, but the businesswoman who had outmaneuvered him at his own game. I moved to the head of the table, quietly but firmly indicating that Dad should move. For a moment he didn't budge, and I saw the old defiance in his eyes. Then slowly he stood and stepped aside. "Now then," I said, taking my seat and opening my laptop. "Shall we begin?" The presentation screen lit up behind me, displaying SecureShape's logo merged with Anderson Technologies. "I believe we have some changes to discuss." The next 2 hours were a masterclass in corporate restructuring. I presented our integration plan, complete with projected growth metrics and efficiency improvements. The board members, initially shocked, became increasingly engaged as they saw the potential in merging Anderson Technologies' established infrastructure with SecureShape's cutting-edge innovation. "Our combined market valuation could triple within 18 months, I explained, clicking through detailed financial projections. SecureShape's cloud security platform fills the exact gap in Anderson Technologies' service portfolio. Dad sat rigid in his new seat, his face a mask of controlled fury. Michael had stormed out 40 minutes into the presentation, but not before shouting, "This is corporate theft." Marcus had calmly responded, "Every share purchase was legally executed on the open market." Ms. Anderson simply demonstrated better business acumen. Now, as I concluded the presentation, the room had divided into clear factions. Most board members were already leaning forward, eager to discuss the transition. They were businesspeople first. They could see the potential profits. A few of Dad's old guard sat back, arms crossed, loyalty warring with financial sense. Mom hadn't moved since her champagne glass shattered, her perfectly manicured hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Are there any questions?" I asked, my voice steady. Gerald Matthews, our longest-serving board member, cleared his throat. "This is impressive, Emily. But what about your father's position? He built this company." I turned to Dad, maintaining eye contact as I spoke. "I'm offering Dad a position as chairman emeritus. He'll retain his board seat and an advisory role. His experience is valuable, when he chooses to use it constructively." The implied criticism hung in the air. Dad's face reddened, but before he could speak, the conference room doors burst open. Michael stormed back in, waving his phone. "She's destroying our family," he shouted. "Look what's already happening." He thrust his phone toward the board members. On the screen, breaking news headlines announced the ownership change. Anderson Technologies stock was soaring on the news of the merger. Destroying the family? I stood slowly, my voice cutting through Michael's rage. "Let's talk about family, brother. Let's talk about how Dad gave you my security platform project after rejecting it from me. How did that work out?" Michael paled. The project had failed spectacularly 6 months ago, costing Anderson Technologies several major clients who had subsequently signed with SecureShape. "You sabotaged it," he accused. "No," I replied calmly. "You just couldn't execute it properly. You never understood the technology, you just wanted the credit." "That's enough." Dad's fist crashed onto the table. "You've made your point, Emily. You've won. Is that what you wanted to hear?" I turned to him, years of suppressed emotion finally surfacing. What I wanted was a father who believed in me. What I wanted was a chance to prove myself in the company I grew up loving. Instead, you made me prove myself by taking it from you. The room fell silent. Even Michael stopped his ranting. "Ms. Anderson," Sarah interrupted gently, "the press is waiting downstairs for the official announcement." I nodded, gathering my materials. "The integration team will reach out to each department head this afternoon. I expect full cooperation." I paused at the door, turning back to my family. "Dad, I'll need your office cleared by end of day. You can use the one on the 48th floor." As I turned to leave, Mom finally spoke. "Emily, wait." She stood, smoothing her designer dress with trembling hands. What happens now?" I saw the fear in her eyes. Fear of change, of family dinners destroyed, of choosing between husband and daughter. Now, Mom, we become what we always could have been, a real family business. One that values merit over birthright. I smiled slightly. Sunday dinners are still at 7, right? The elevator ride down to the press conference felt different than the ride up. Sarah squeezed my arm supportively. You did it, boss. In the lobby, cameras flashed as I approached the podium. Reporters called out questions, their voices overlapping. Ms. Anderson, how long have you been planning this? What changes can we expect? Where is your father? Is this revenge? I adjusted the microphone, my voice clear and confident. This isn't about revenge. It's about vision. Anderson Technologies was built on innovation and determination. Today we're returning to those roots. As I delivered the prepared statement, I caught my reflection in the lobby's glass walls. I saw not the disappointed daughter or the family failure, but the CEO I had become. The woman who had taken her father's lessons about power and success and turned them back on him. Upstairs, I knew Dad was still sitting in that conference room, finally understanding what his dismissal and doubt had created. Michael was probably already calling his lawyer, though we both knew it would do no good. Mom was likely torn between pride and worry, her world shifting on its axis. But here, in front of the cameras in the world, I was exactly where I belonged. The disappointment had become the victor, the failure had become the success, and the daughter who wasn't good enough had become the woman who owned it all. And now, I concluded, I'll take your questions. The future stretched out before me, bright with possibility and sweet with victory. Tomorrow I would begin the work of merging two companies into something greater than either had been alone. But today was for savoring the moment when everyone finally understood. Sometimes the greatest revenge is becoming exactly what they said you couldn't be.